Imagine a weapon so powerful, it could decide the fate of all humanity with the push of a button. Now, imagine it was never built. Controversial, right? That's exactly what Project Sundial represents. A blend of legend, science, and mystery that still evokes fascination and unease. The mere concept of a bomb capable of destroying the entire planet challenges everything we know about ethics, technology, and even common sense. And perhaps the most intriguing part is this paradox. Why does such a destructive idea continue to fascinate us? But here's the twist. Sundial is not just a symbol of absolute power, it's a mirror of our choices as a species. From the fear of annihilation during the Cold War to conspiracy theories that have endured through time, this story forces us to confront the dark side of scientific curiosity and technological competition. Could Sundial be a warning, a lesson, or just an invention of our imagination? Stay with me, because we're diving deep into this story and might just find answers to questions you didn't even know you had. What was Project Sundial? Imagine a weapon so powerful it could wipe out life on Earth with a single shot. That was how Project Sundial was described, an idea that hovered between reality and imagination, emerging during the turbulent Cold War. This period was not just a clash of ideologies, but also a battleground for technological and scientific competition. The arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union created fertile ground for theories like Sundial, which, according to rumors, was a nuclear bomb with unimaginable force, far beyond the already devastating hydrogen bombs. Science, which should unite and advance, was being used as a weapon of mass destruction. The historical context leaves no doubt that Sundial was born out of fear and paranoia. In the 1950s, the two nuclear powers were in a constant dance of provocations and power displays, always on the brink of disaster. The mere idea of a project like Sundial was enough to keep adversaries on high alert. However, the mystery surrounding this concept made people wonder, was it just a rumor to fuel tension? Or was there something more hidden in the secret labs of the time? Rumors have always been an essential ingredient in times of war. Just as conspiracy stories involving UFOs and espionage were common, Sundial fueled the popular imagination. It was not just fear of the unknown, but also curiosity that made the world question how far science and technology could be used for destruction. And as this question lingered, humanity began to realize that the quest for absolute power could lead to an irreversible fate. So, the question arises, how did this idea connect to the scientific reality of the time? This brings us to the next point. The technology behind Sundial. Was it really possible? The 1950s were marked by impressive scientific advancements, but also by limitations that demanded ingenuity. Hydrogen bombs, the basis for Sundial's concept, were already a landmark in nuclear science. They worked through the fusion of hydrogen nuclei, releasing colossal energy. Sundial, according to speculation, would take this a step further, using similar principles, but on an unimaginable scale. Technology, though advanced for its time, faced obstacles. How to contain and direct such force without destroying the very infrastructure that would sustain it. Beyond practical difficulties, there was the problem of scientific feasibility. Creating something as powerful as Sundial would require rare materials, extreme temperatures, and almost utopian control of nuclear reactions. Scientists of the time, though brilliant, operated with tools we would now consider rudimentary. There were no advanced computers for simulations, nor the technological precision seen in today's nuclear projects. Even so, humanity's production of weapons like the Tsar Bomba shows that the limits of technology were constantly pushed, driven by curiosity and fear. Science, as incredible as it was, had its limits, but human ambition did not. Sundial, on paper, might have been theoretical, but attempts to create something akin to it sparked heated debates within the scientific and military communities. The question wasn't just whether technology would allow its creation, but whether the cost, financial and moral, would be worth the risk. After all, creating a weapon that challenges humanity's very existence was something that made even the most ambitious hesitate. But what if, despite all the difficulties, There was more going on behind the scenes. This brings us to the secrets and conspiracies surrounding the project. Secrets, rumors, and conspiracies. What do we know and what's hidden? If there's one thing that always fuels collective imagination, it's projects shrouded in mystery, and Sundial was no exception. Many documents and accounts about it remain inaccessible or were deliberately destroyed, leaving a trail of unanswered questions. During the Cold War, secrecy was as powerful a weapon as bombs. The mere mention of such a devastating project was enough to destabilize an adversary, even if it never left the drawing board. This was part of a disinformation strategy, to create fear by using the power of science as a menacing shadow. Among the rumors, there were stories about tests conducted in secret locations, such as remote deserts or isolated islands, where devices like Sundial might have been prototyped. Although no concrete evidence exists, that didn't stop the proliferation of conspiracy theories. These narratives, often exaggerated, fueled popular imagination and were even encouraged by governments aiming to confuse their enemies. The idea that something so destructive was being planned made people question how far scientists would go under the pressures of scientific curiosity and political demands. Compared to other secret projects, like the Manhattan Project or military experiments with stealth technology, Sundial might have been more a product of collective paranoia than tangible reality. Still, the absence of evidence wasn't enough to reassure anyone. In times of war, where science and technology were weaponized, anything seemed possible. But if Sundial was never truly built, what were the reasons behind it? Let's explore this in the next section. Why was Sundial never built? To understand why Sundial never came to fruition, it's essential to consider the practical limitations surrounding its conception. Developing such a devastating weapon would require astronomical resources, from rare materials to highly specialized infrastructure. In a Cold War scenario, where every decision was measured by strategic cost-benefit, it was hard to justify investing in something so destructive that even victory would be rendered meaningless. After all, what would be the purpose of a weapon that, when used, would eliminate not just the enemy but the planet itself? Another critical factor was the ethical dilemma that arose within the scientific community. Many scientists had already expressed regret over the development of nuclear weapons, such as the atomic bomb used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Expanding that power to apocalyptic levels sparked profound discomfort. Philosophical and moral debates began to gain traction, raising questions about the role of science. Should it merely explore the limits of curiosity, or should barriers be imposed to ensure humanity's survival? On a political level, Sundial represented more of a risk than a solution. During the Cold War, the doctrine of mutually assured destruction was already enough to keep superpowers in check. Adding a weapon of such absolute power could break this fragile balance and trigger irreversible consequences. Thus, the project was set aside due to a lack of technical capability, but because the world began to realize that some ideas are too dangerous even to test. This leads us to a broader reflection on the ethical impact of such projects on global thought. The lessons of Sundial. Reflections on the ethics of destruction. The concept of Sundial forces us to reflect on how scientific and technological power can be used for both creation and destruction. It symbolizes a crucial moment in human history when scientific curiosity began to collide directly with ethical questions. If science is a tool, its application depends on human intentions, and Sundial exposed one of the worst scenarios possible: the reckless pursuit of power without considering the consequences. Projects like this have taught us that, as fascinating as it is to explore the limits of knowledge, the price we pay can be far too high. In the debate on nuclear deterrence, Sundial served as a grim reminder of how far we could go. It helped shape global thought on weapons of mass destruction, forcing world leaders to establish clearer boundaries. Treaties such as the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty were born from lessons like these, showing that science needs control and responsibility. After all, what good is all our technological capability if it only brings us closer to the edge? These reflections were not just questions for governments, but also had a profound impact on how scientists viewed their own roles in society. More importantly, Sundial opened the door for discussions about the balance between military power and collective survival. It reminds us that, no matter how advanced we become, our greatest strength will always be the wisdom with which we choose to use the tools we create. And here lies the great paradox. As we seek to understand the secrets of the universe, we must ask ourselves whether we are ready to handle the power it offers us. Science is curious and fascinating, but without ethics, it can become our downfall. And so, with these lessons in mind, we arrive at the point of unraveling what lies behind the myth and reality of Sundial. Now that you know the story of Project Sundial, what do you think about the use of science and technology? This project is a reminder that our curiosity can take us far, but it also needs responsibility. How far are we willing to go in the pursuit of power? And have we learned from mistakes like this? Or are we still repeating the same dangerous choices? This is a reflection that doesn't remain in the past, but directly impacts our future. Think about it. Today, new technologies like artificial intelligence, autonomous drones, and biotechnology raise the same ethical dilemmas. The difference is that now these decisions are happening much faster. Are we ready to handle the consequences? This story is not just about weapons or wars. It's about the kind of world we are creating. You are part of this, and your opinion matters. So, before you leave, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, you'll keep learning and reflecting on topics that truly make a difference. And tell me, what's your vision for the future? I want to know what you think in the comments. Let's continue this conversation.